We are live. Okay, so some technical difficulties there. So this is a whole new link. So hopefully, if you tried to join the other one, you found this link under my live at AskBeverly. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. My name is Beverly, and today I wanted to talk about both of our experience, mine and Veronica's experience with using Ancestry to find our fathers or to look for our fathers. And so my channel is generally dedicated to health, wellness, fitness, and I do a lot of talks on kind of health and wellness of the mind, not just the body. And so today we're going to be talking about, as I said, ancestry. And so I'm going to let Veronica introduce herself and her channel, and go right ahead. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Veronica. My channel is called Tell RV Living. And on my channel, I talk about professional organizing and just how to make your lifestyle better than what it is now. And that's
Okay.
pretty much it.
And I will leave a link to her channel as well in the description below. And so, yeah, let's get into, I guess, just what prompted both of us. I'll just a little background about me. I grew up not knowing my father and knowing very little about my father. And was told like little pieces of information here and there, but not really a lot of information. I had never seen a picture of him. And years ago, just really wanting to look at my genetic makeup, I did Ancestry. And so in doing Ancestry, so I've been on there for years and years and years. And it wasn't until like less than a year ago, I had a match, a first cousin match. And I found my father's side of the family. And yeah, so I'll get more into that later, but that's sort of my background with it. I met that side of the family. He has unfortunately passed, so I never had an opportunity to meet him. But it has been illuminating and helpful. I got to see a picture of him, to see what he looked like, and to talk to his brothers, because he had like a big, I guess it's my family, I speak about it. I have a big that side of the family.
Mhm.
And so I met like 3 uncles and a cousin, and I keep in contact with 2 of the uncles and the cousin. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of the background about me. And also, I want to say, if you are here, and I don't see that there's anybody here right now, please, say hello in the comments, and let us know that you're here. And also put any questions. If you have any questions for either of us, please just be sure to put them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer. And so I would love to know also, if you're watching either live or in the replay, are you on your own ancestry journey? Is there a family member, a father or a mother or somebody that you're looking for? I would love to hear about it. Please put it in the comments here in the live, or if you're watching it in the replay, put it in the comments there, because I'd love to read about it. So I want to get into it with you, Veronica, because you and I have talked about this. And my first question for you would be, what were you told about your father growing up?
Very little information. Like I said, my mom didn't really mention him. The only time she did mention him is when I was having my period, like going through
Okay,
puberty. So we had that
interesting.
whole conversation.
Yeah.
um, and she like vaguely, mentioned that he was up here, he lived here, I think, and then he went down
In New
south.
York? In New
Yeah,
York?
in New
Uh-huh.
York. And he went down south, and the next thing you know, he either died or somebody killed him, or yeah, it was just very vague. And then the next time that I actually saw my father's name was on one of those, because listen, we grew up poor here, so it was one of
Yeah,
those like
same.
how you go and you fill out for like food stamps and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like absentee father, and I saw his name and his date of birth, and that was it. But it was very little, and everybody in my family was like, "Oh, your mother was so quiet. She kept to herself, and she really didn't speak about it, and nobody knows, and they didn't even know she was pregnant when she came home with me, and all this other stuff." So I
Wow.
was like,
That's interesting. And so on the form, what you're saying where you saw his name or his date of birth, that was your mother filling out this form and you saw it?
"Yeah,
Okay.
yeah," and that was the extent of that. Like, other
And
than that,
she didn't really talk
he didn't
about him.
exist. No, she didn't
Yeah.
talk about him at all. Like, except for those, except for that time. And I was a kid, I didn't ask anyway. But my stepfather was in the house, so it didn't really dawn on me um to talk, to ask about my biological father. So
Yeah. And I didn't, I have a similar experience in that um my mom told me very little. And I mean, I asked like little kid questions. I think that as a little kid, you sort of accept what grown-ups tell you a lot of times, right?
yeah,
Even if it doesn't make sense, you just
yeah,
sort of think, okay, well, this is what they told me.
and that's
And
what it is. And
and yeah, and it's not until we get older that you start looking at it and you just think, well, that doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
Like, you told me that doesn't make any sense at all, right? So then where you are right now, so I know that you've done like the ancestry test, right? Or an ancestry test. And so what prompted you, like, was it something that made you say, I want to find out like who my father was?
Yeah, I think it was just like just very curiosity of like okay, if I originally went on Ancestry to find more information out about my mother's side, which
Yeah.
is a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Um and while I was on it, I was like, oh, maybe I'll find some stuff about my father's side. So I did Ancestry, I did um uh, my history. I did a bunch of them, and on my history, I not my history, my heritage. Um, um, I
Mhm.
wound up founding like the closest cousin to me, which is like he would be like my half first cousin.
Okay.
And then we kind of like, when I had first saw the connection to match, I had reached out to him and he was like, oh, it was kind of vague. And then, like, I think like a year or so later, we kind of like got into contact and was like, just talking, and we met up, and I tested another cousin of his, which came up as like my second cousin. But
Hmm.
he's like, "Your family, your family." So, but it didn't. I didn't find my father. you
Right.
know?
And you did, and nobody kind of, from what I understand, even in talking to you, nobody really volunteers any information about him,
No,
right?
no, no.
So that, which is kind of, my next question about the secrecy about the story of your father. Again, same,
Hmm.
like there was just a lot of, I don't know, for lack of a better way of saying it, secrecy. And, as I had told you, in my case, I thought that my father had never met me. I thought that he knew my mother was pregnant and he left. That's the story that I knew for all of my life until last November. Seriously. And so that for my whole life, since November, and then what ended up happening in my case, Veronica, was one of the brothers, my uncle,
Hmm.
he told me that I live in California outside of LA, and I was born in LA. He came out to LA, and that he met me when I was like 2.5 years old. And he met me as a toddler. And I was like, I didn't even know anyone had met me. So it was just, again, I meant to say what my intention was, which is not to disparage anyone, including my own mother. But that was like a lie that I was told, right? A
Yeah.
lie that he didn't know me. Not only did he know me, I had an uncle
Yeah.
who knew me.
Hmm.
And so and in your case, even so, I'm shifting to you. In your case, even when you met the cousin, like there's nobody telling you anything.
But nobody knew. They all, I mean, like, he's like, I know we related because you look exactly like, well, his grandmother. And I saw a picture and I was like, oh, yeah, I definitely could be in this family.
Yeah.
Um, at first, we thought it was going to be like my father would be his uncle, but that wasn't the case. And so, like, I was telling him about my grandfather, and he's like so clean cut on paper that the only conclusion I came up with was like, oh, he was a secret.
Yeah. And and there's the part of me as a grown up that understands um that like what you're saying about your grandfather, it's complicated, right?
Yeah.
And there's a part of me with a grown-up mind that understands it. And yet I still think what you were saying, okay, just say what it is. Whatever it is,
Mhm.
whatever the truth is, just say it. It's a long time ago. I'm a grown-up. What do you know
Right.
about them?
Right. But it's
Yeah.
like, it's also hard when it's like, they keep those secrets, and it's like, pushed underneath the rug and buried. And like, when I mean I can't find my father anywhere on paper. I don't even know if that's his real name and date of birth. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's that
Because
bizarre.
he's not on your birth certificate.
No, it's just my mother.
Okay.
And it's just like no one knows. And I was like, well, I didn't come from nothing, you know.
Right, of course not. Yeah. Yeah. And you're an only child. You don't have
Well,
siblings.
not that I know of, no.
Oh, right, 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 right.
Yeah. So somewhere out there could have brothers or sisters.
Like me.
I do know I have cousins. I have lots of cousins. I have an endless supply of cousins. Do you want some cousins? Because I have a lot.
I have a lot. I haven't, I just have met one of them because I think that my father had maybe 7 brothers and sisters. And
Wow.
then I think and then I think they all had kids, with the exception of one uncle who lives out here in LA, who I've met, who I'll probably see them. So my cousin, she is around your age. Um, Her dad is the one that met me as a child. So she's coming out here this week, and she reached out to me. So I'll see her when she comes out here, and the uncle who lives in LA, because she usually stays with him.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, so and they're super nice people, and I'm glad about that, because you also never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I was like, maybe I can't find him. There's a reason why I can't find him.
Yeah.
Right.
I
We talked about that before. I was like, I found these other group of people. They seem very nice. Maybe I'm not ready for whoever my father was or wasn't.
Because Taylor
Mm.
is your mother's name, not your father's name.
Yes, which
Okay.
is also confusing because my grandmother, they keep on telling me that my grandmother married a man named Taylor, and he had a large family. But I don't know who Mr. Taylor is because my grandmother had several relationships, and my biological grandfather is not Taylor. So,
Mhm.
and also back in those days, like if you wasn't married, you usually took, well, yours is different, but you usually took the name of your mother's last name.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just like a weird, bizarre thing,
It,
because
it,
I'm walking around, with this last name, and I'm like, I can't pinpoint the
who it
person's
belongs
last name,
to.
yeah, who it belongs to. So that's,
Yeah.
I kind of like that identity crisis on top of, okay, well, where and who was my father? And it's just like, who am I?
Yeah.
Sometimes you come
And,
to the conclusion like, who am I?
and so, which leads to the next thing, which is what effect has not knowing your father had on your life, or what do you think? Like you just were talking about identity.
Yeah, so like, identity. I didn't really think of him that much because my stepfather was in the house, so I grew up with a man in the house, so it wasn't like, oh, I didn't have anybody to talk to or anybody to show me things. But like when I think back, it's like, yeah, who are you? Like, do I get my height from him? Is my attitude from my
Yes.
mother?
Yeah.
Why do I like eating this food versus that food? It's just like little random things, you know, that might be silly to some people, but to me, it's like, hmm,
I don't think it's silly, because I do think that you know, and especially as you get older, you're kind of trying to piece together your identity. And like what you're talking about, your height, or, certain physical attributes and things like that. And even like you don't know what's nature versus nurture, right? Like you don't
right,
know what is just because you were around your mother that you picked that up from her, or was your father that way? And
yeah,
for me, I remember growing up and my mom would sometimes say, "Oh, your father was like that." She would throw something out there like that, like a trait or something that I have. She
really.
would, yeah, she would say that.
But she wouldn't talk
And
about him.
not a lot. No, no, it was very limited information.
Hmm.
And, I don't know what that means about their relationship. And I love my mother, but, I've said this, if they broke up, I'm betting on it was her fault.
Oh,
No, but
definitely.
no, but I don't mean that disrespectfully. I don't, but she has like a lot of trauma, and
Hmm.
she has a lot of she's very unsettled. We moved a lot,
Hmm.
so I think that's what I mean. Like I think she's kind of a hard person to nail down.
Gotcha.
She really is. That's just the truth, right? And but that, what you're talking about when you look at yourself, that was the thing that was really fascinating for me to, the first time in my life to ever see a picture of my father. I um that was in November.
Wow.
And and then you're looking for your face in his face, and I can see my face in his face.
Hmm.
I think I have a picture. Um I had it in the other, we had to move screens,
Uh-huh.
and I had it, let me see if it lets me. Hold on, right here. This is, I'll put it up when it comes up. Where is it? Okay. Um, and so
Wow.
I see my face and his face like here, and even
Mhm.
probably like the shape of my face. And it was a trip though to see just anyone, because you don't have anything to compare, like I knew nothing.
Right.
and
Right.
and so um I share that with you, like where you wonder, well, where did I get this from, and where did I get that from? And didn't I didn't spend, like a lot of my life. Oh, there's Tiffany. Hi. Hi, hi, Tiffany. We had to switch screens. I had some feedback, and then I started a whole other screen. So thank you for joining. We appreciate you're here. Um, and but I didn't. This is what I want to ask you. This is what I want to ask you about this.
Mhm.
the effects of not knowing your father. Did you spend a lot of your um, life wondering, like, do you feel there's like this void that you have for not having known him? Because your mother you knew and she passed, you were still very young, but you knew your mother, right? But your father you didn't know at all. Do you feel like what some people sometimes say is like a void? Or did you feel that?
Void? No, nothing
Yeah,
was
me either.
voided. Sorry. Like, I think that probably if I didn't have a male figure in the house hold, maybe, and it was just me, me and my mom, maybe. But no, like I said, you don't really start asking these questions until you get older, you know. And so it's like, oh, I wish I could have asked my mom more about this or about that. Um, but
And you just
you know,
accepted that you didn't, because your stepfather was there. And did you just look at him like your father? Because I had a
yeah,
stepfather who didn't adopt us, and but we called him by his name. He wasn't our. I don't know. It was different, and
yeah.
so I knew that he wasn't my father.
I just looked at him as my father,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Um, that that was basically it. But I didn't have like a void or a feeling or a strong feeling about, my biological father, um, because I had my stepfather in the house. It just was recently, not recently, but like, when you got older, it's like, oh, I wonder what his family is like. I wonder what he's like.
right.
And that's why I pursued Ancestry and my heritage. And, I got to meet some cousins. And it was like, all right, well, maybe that's the extent of that. Maybe the universe and God is protecting me from God knows what. Right.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, because when you open up Pandora's box, sometimes hell comes out, you know.
Yeah, and that's true. And that's what I was saying, like for the family on my father's, if you're just
Uh-huh.
joining us, I did find my father's side of the family through Ancestry. He has passed away, so I never got to meet him as an adult. But I have uncles that I've met and a cousin. And I was telling Veronica that I'm so grateful that they're nice and normal people because, as you just said, you never know what it could possibly be. And for me, also, Veronica, I had like a similar thing where I don't feel that it was a void. I was curious about him and curious about, like we were saying, like the physical traits um of of him. Who do I, what do I look like and where do I get that from? But I had sort of settled it in my mind that I was never going to meet him, and I felt good about it. And I will say, having some time to reflect now that I have found out about him,
Uh-huh.
it has had an effect on me. Like, I have now thought of him more as a father who wasn't there than
Really?
I ever yes, because he has other kids that he raised. Do you know what I mean? Who have like these memories of him. And I had talked to a half brother and sister, and they shared these memories. And so, yeah, it has changed my acceptance a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's changed that. Like, again, maybe that's the Pandora's box that you're referring to.
Yeah. It's weird because like I don't know what my father looks like. I don't have a picture. I don't have it's like out of sight, out of mind. But I
Yes.
know like I come from somewhere, you know.
And so, on that note, again, my next question, and let me just say hi to, I see Beatrice is here. That's my friend Beatrice. I
Hello,
see you,
Beatrice.
Beatrice.
Hi, Tiffany.
Yeah, hi, you guys. Good morning. Thanks for joining. I had to start a whole new link because I had some technical difficulties on the other one. So, thank you for finding us here. But the other thing please also like the video if you haven't already. That would be great. But I wanted to ask you, so what would you hope to find out? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is there a specific thing that you're super curious about him? Like, what would finding him mean? Like, in looking for him, what are you hoping to find out?
I would just have like the name to a face, you know. Um and it's basically that simple, you know.
Hmm.
Um I mean, other than that, like, just to know like who was he, what did he do, his everyday life, and that, that's pretty much it, you know.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
I'm already who I am,
Yes.
and so, certain things that
Yeah. I understand that.
I already know my mother's side, so it's like, oh yeah, I definitely didn't get that from this side, like my entrepreneurship and my drive and but I got other things from my mother's side. So I know that certain things that don't come from there is like, okay, well, it definitely came from that side. you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, that's pretty much it. Like I don't have my just desire is just to put a name and a face together. That's
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
as simple as that. I mean, sad, but that it's that simple.
Well, and I think though that you seem very well adjusted about it. And again, like what you just said is sort of out of sight, out of mind. I don't know, like with myself, I went to therapy and I talked about it in therapy, and she seemed to think that I had a good handle on it. That, I just at that point, that was before I found these people who are my family. And I was just like, I'm good with not knowing him. And as I told you, now that I've found him, there is the part of me that thinks, especially I had one conversation with my half siblings, and to hear them talk about him, and they really talked about him favorably. And what I thought, I said that in my video about my half siblings, what I thought was, all of that sounds wonderful. Again, this isn't to disparage anyone, but
Right.
he did leave behind a daughter. That's the piece that you're leaving out of the story,
Right.
the story that you're telling, and a daughter that they knew about. They grew up their whole lives knowing about me.
That's that brings up so many other questions,
It They
it's
had
just
a picture of me as a baby.
wow.
And so that's why I think I share that kind of out of sight, out of mind. And I've had that, I think, for most of my life. Not that it hasn't been curiosity, but I haven't felt like this void of not knowing it. But this, in meeting my family, and I think they're wonderful people and I'm glad to know them, right? I'm
Mhm.
glad that I have gotten the opportunity to meet them, but it has uh, shaken me a little bit as
Yeah.
I've reflected over these months, because it's filled in some pieces and it gives me more questions. It gives me more questions about him, you know?
Yeah.
And he seemed to be really secretive. Hi, I'm
Hi.
Lindsay. Thank you.
Hi,
Thank you
Lindsay.
for joining. We were just talking about, if you're just joining, we were just talking about the effect of not having known our fathers, and what we were kind of hoping to find out through Ancestry, through the idea of finding that lineage. And I also think, Veronica, as I was telling you before I did my Ancestry videos, I was fascinated by how common it is. It's just so common. And
Mhm.
also that there are lies around it or secrets around it.
Yeah. I mean, like,
And
for me,
yeah.
like, someone knows something. Someone knows something, someone seen something, someone heard something, but no one said anything. It's the silence of like, "Oh, I don't know," "I don't know." And then people coming out probably years later like, "Oh, such and such is such and such," and it's like, "Well, why you didn't tell me?" Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just like, "All right, well, I'll find out as much as I can, and then
And
that's."
so then here's another question. What steps have you taken outside of Ancestry, if any? Have you you did the heritage?
I did the My Heritage, um, and, a couple of other ones, and that's pretty much it. I think once I found my half cousin, and, I can I see pictures, and I see myself there, I look just like the family. It was just kinda like, "Okay," because like I said, my grandfather is, like, good on paper. I mean, like, pristine, like.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so where is the child that you had? And so the only conclusion I came up with was like, okay, he probably was a secret,
Yeah, like a whole, I mean, that's,
you know.
more common than people like to
Like,
admit, where they have like a whole other family.
yeah. And I also believe that that was passed down to me. I was the secret.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows, you know.
And again, that's one of the most fast, what you just said, that's like so um such a like an important point. That does just keep getting pass forward this secrecy. And as I was saying, sometimes, or a lot, most of the times, we're all carrying around this secret that isn't ours to carry around. There's like, and I don't know if it's shame, I don't know if it's, as I was telling you, protecting the virtue of a family member sometimes, or protecting the memory that somebody has. I don't know what, it's probably a variety of things, but
Mhm.
we're carrying around this secret, and you just think, why?
Why? Yeah. Yeah.
Why? And even from in my experience with my half siblings, when I talk to them, I've only talked to them the one time, and they were nice people, right?
Mhm.
But he was sort of lionized, meaning they really told me all these wonderful things about him,
Mhm.
and I just, but like something doesn't add up.
Because it's not clicking. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No, I get you.
because he left and never reached out to me.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't add up.
Mhm.
So there's something there that's not being told, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know why, but that's just, logical. There's something that you're not saying.
Yeah. Yeah. The fact that
And yeah,
everybody knew about you, which is like,
even his wife.
that is bizarre. Like, that is, yeah, there's something there. Someone said something, someone threatened someone, something happened there.
Yeah, and he, and again, what I know of him, he seemed kind of secretive, and in my case, the last piece I'll say is that I couldn't find him because he converted to Islam in like the 70s and changed his name. So I never would have been able to find him if not for the genetics.
Wow.
And that's the other piece, like on heritage or ancestry and all of that. You're not, that's the whole thing, is that you're not never going to find anybody unless they're in that database,
Yeah.
unless somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
So there
It's
could be
like,
somebody out there who hasn't tested yet for you.
yeah. Yeah. So, like I was saying before, I was like, what I find is what I find, and I mean, at this point, I'm pretty much content with, you know, even, skipping over him and then going to my grandfather's side of the family, his lineage, and knowing certain things that's like, oh, okay, okay, this is where I get it from, or,
Yeah.
um, but like maybe the universe and God is protecting me or something, from
Well, yeah, like for, and maybe one day it will be so that you find out a little bit more information, or maybe it won't. I think the most important piece, though, of it is that you seem, okay with it. You know what I mean? Like that
yeah,
we're okay. That's because I have to say, I've known of people where they're devastated.
really.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, they're devastated by not knowing who their father or their family, if they're adopted, not knowing that, they're
oh,
devastated by it.
mhm.
And it is a whole, that's why I asked, because, we're the same, because I don't think that I have that either. I don't know if it's, um, yeah, I don't think that I have that either. But um, what else? And then this is the last question. So you found your cousins or some cousins, like second cousins, right? And
First,
so you
first half cousin, and then
okay,
the second cousin. Mhm.
and you keep in contact with them sort of, or
I haven't reached out to them in a while. I think it's probably been over a year.
okay.
Um, but
You
when
like them?
they're great people.
Yeah. Which is
Normal,
good.
everyday,
Yeah,
and that's all you can ask for.
it is. It's a relief, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's not like, I come from something crazy,
Oh,
which is always scary. It's like nobody wants to hear stuff about like they family, being, mean and evil to other people. Um,
if
but
yeah, so well, is if anybody doesn't have any questions, anybody have any questions for either of us, or did anybody who's watching, have you um found somebody on Ancestry? Or are you looking for somebody on Ancestry? I'm just curious about it. Um, because it does seem to be more common than not to not know, or like, yeah, to not know, or to find out something later. Another thing that in watching videos about Ancestry, was a lot of people grow up thinking that the father who raised them is their biological father, and then they do Ancestry, and they find out that he is not.
yeah, that's it's a shocker.
Well, it's terrible,
It
right?
is terrible. It is terrible, but it's like I don't know. It's like it's this, like you said, it's the same thing over and over and over and over again, and it's just you know the person that like my stepfather. I knew that he was my stepfather, not my biological father, but that became my father, and I focused my relationship on him. You know,
Yeah.
and he was a great man. And so, but I can see how that can be very disappointing and devastating for someone believing something their whole life and coming to find out that it's not true.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, that a shocker is an under that is like saying something, like you were not my father at all. And this whole time I thought that you were. It's crazy.
yeah.
But let's see. I've never found someone. Let me see. But I discover I have an older half brother from my mom. Through the grapevine, found out he already passed, never met him. Oh, okay,
Oh
interesting.
wow.
Yeah, like again, and this fascinating with families. that, and I don't know what grapevine you found that out through, Lindsay, but like it's crazy that there are, and Veronica and I were talking about it. There are all these secrets that we carry from our family sometimes, and you just think, I don't even know why. But I guess obviously in that case, it's somebody that is, I guess, you know, out of wedlock,
Mhm.
or something, and that's what people were protecting. Maybe I don't know what it is, but I know for myself there was just a lot of withholding of information, and then some of the information that I was told, it just wasn't true. But thank you for sharing that, Lindsay. That's a trip.
Yeah.
um
And then something
and
else that always comes up is like, oh, you should have kids. And, you don't have, your mom is not here, your father's not here, you're the only child. Why don't you have kids? And it's like, I don't, I don't have kids. And have them question me about, oh, what was your father like? What was your, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want the responsibility, because I have to be responsible for myself and, always help other people and be the bigger person and be like I'm tired.
I know.
Exhausted.
I know I don't have kids either, and I don't know. That's a whole other thing. I actually did a video on it. I haven't posted it yet, of why I chose not to have kids, because it is a question that comes up,
Yeah.
where people ask, why didn't you have kids? I got my own problems. I don't need to I don't need to give them to somebody else. So she says, yes, it was a family secret. She didn't want us to know. My dad told us when she left us. Yeah.
Oh.
Lindsay, I didn't know my dad had met me ever. I grew up my whole life. I'm 57. Last November was the first time I ever found out that he had actually ever met me, and that my father was around for the first 2.5 years of my life. Didn't know it until I met an uncle who had met me also. Had no idea. My mother never told me. So it's crazy the things that our families drag around,
Mhm.
all these years. And I don't know, it just feels like you would just be freer just to say it. Just say it. And but they don't. They do not. So I don't know. I thank everybody for joining us today. Veronica, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I mean, if you want to find out something about your family or your lineage, I definitely go ahead and, take a test, I had to take a test because my family wasn't giving me answers. And it was just kind of like, oh, I don't know, and changing the subject. So if you really want to know, go ahead and take the ancestry DNA or any DNA that's out there. So
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to. Um, Tiffany says, that's wild. I think times have changed and it's more normal to have kids outside of wedlock, so there's no need to keep it a secret. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Mhm.
We Veronica and I were talking about that actually before we got on. And the other thing that's crazy, Tiffany, about that whole thing is that now, the cat's kind of out of the bag with tools like Ancestry. If anybody puts their DNA in that database, it's going to pop up for you. That's what happened for me. I wasn't actually even looking for my father. I really wanted to just see my genetics, and it popped up. And so there's no need to keep a secret. I agree with that, right? I
Mhm.
don't understand the need for a secret, but also it's harder. I think this whole next generation of kids, they have more tools with DNA being available, right?
Mhm.
Then, because I'm older than I think everybody here, but I was just told a story and that was it. There was no way to verify it. When I was young, there was no internet,
Right.
so there was no way to even search for a name, that it just didn't exist. But I hope Tiffany, honestly, that people are more honest with their kids about it because it's unnecessary, like to hold on to that for, to tell that lie or to withhold that from a child.
Mhm. I don't think that it's gonna change anything, though. I think the cycle is gonna continue.
Yeah.
I really, unfortunately, I really think the cycle is gonna continue because of the shame and guilt, and they don't wanna hurt this person and grandma and aunt and uncle, and I think that's just something that's just gonna continue, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it'll continue, but I do think with DNA, the cat's going to be out of the bag for a lot of people. Like you're not before you could tell that lie and there was no way to verify it. And now I think with DNA there is. So long as, somebody else in your family that you don't know takes that test,
Mhm.
there's a possibility. But no, I think that, it would be nice if people were more truthful. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that they're going to continue.
Yeah, too. Like, I just found out maybe about 5 years ago that, one of my cousins had a brother. I was like, "You got a brother?" Never know that. Never met him. He's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, they look just like." I was like, "What?"
Wow.
And I'm like, "Okay, that's, very weird."
Well, and it just
But,
seeps out.
it's just like secrets upon secrets upon secrets, and it's like eventually it's gonna come out.
Yeah, it does. And I guess really, just to kind of close this out, um, just the most important thing is really for those of us that, didn't grow up knowing that, or in your case, you're still, you've met some of your family, but haven't figured out all of that about your father, and maybe you won't, right? But
Right.
it's that you're okay with it. And
Yeah.
that's, that you're okay with it. Like you said, that's what I said about myself. I'm already grown. Like I'm cooked. I'm
Right.
fully cooked. Do you know what I mean? I'm overdone,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm trying out. I'm so cooked
Right.
that it's not soul shaking, right?
Yeah.
To It's not soul shaking. So anyway, I thank you to anybody who joined us, and if you're watching it in the replay, thank you for watching us in the replay, and we appreciate you being a part of the discussion today. And Veronica, thank you so much for sharing your story, with me today and everyone.
Thank you for having me on. This was fun.
Yeah, it was good. I think it's
Yeah.
important to talk about it. And
Yeah.
so anyway, you guys, everybody have a good day. Thank you again. Please like and subscribe if you're watching it in the replay. And until next time, you guys take it easy.
Bye.